caught near weapon stores. What had they planned? Inside the barracks, tension simmered. Layla peered through slats in the shutter. Soldiers everywhere, she whispered. Sophia flexed her fingers. Asina rumbled soothingly. Hours passed. Evening sun slanted through latticed windows when Idris finally returned, face grim. Saboteurs planted oil near the armory doors, he explained. Could have burned half the palace. His gaze found Sophia. They confessed Zara set the plan after Captain Nadir kneeled to you. Murmurs erupted. Tarek swore softly. Lala muttered, jealous snake. Sophia's stomach clenched. Where is Zara now? Under guard until judgment. Idris's tone held grim satisfaction. The Sultan wants to speak with you. She followed him through echoing corridors to a narrow tower room lined with stained glass. Arslan stood at the far window. Moonlight spilled across mosaic floors. Bashir waited near the door. Arslan turned. The lines of command on his face remained, but raw weariness shadowed his eyes. Zara has been exiled, he said quietly. Her ambition crossed the line into treason. Sophia swallowed. I never wanted that. You wanted survival, he corrected, and earned enemies by refusing their chains. He exhaled. My wolf pushes me to speak truth. Bashir slipped out, closing the door. Arslan approached. The bond is real, stronger now that your wolf is awake. I swore never to surrender to fate again, yet the more I fight it, the more pain I cause. Sophia's heartbeat echoed Asena's steady thrum. Pain isn't the same as weakness. Nor is grief the same as strength, he replied. He lifted a hand toward her cheek, stopped. I once believed a mate had to be forged in battle beside me, yet you crossed harsher terrain alone. I wasn't alone last night, she touched her chest. Not anymore. Arslan's wolf pressed closer, voice a low thunder only he heard. Claim her. Heal together. He looked into Sophia's eyes, emerald green lit by silver flecks she hadn't possessed days ago. Royal eyes, he thought. Tell me who you are, he whispered. She drew breath. Daughter of the magic pack, the lost bloodline that wielded genie gifts. I don't know how I survived or why memory hid itself, but Asena remembers. Emotion wavered her voice. And I remember her. The revelation rolled through him. A shock, yes, but a relief too. Her strength had always been there, waiting. Magic pack. He smiled faintly. No wonder you walked through chains like smoke. A silence stretched, no tension, only a tremulous sense of beginning. Sophia felt Asena nudge her mind. You are safe. She allowed herself a small smile. Where does this leave us? With choices, Arslan said. Fate offers. We decide. He extended his hand. Not a command, not a claim, an invitation. Sophia placed her hand in his. Warmth surged, 2 heartbeats sinking. The wolf inside Arslan hummed contentment. Asena's joy washed Sophia's nerves away. They stood wrapped in moonlight, uncertainty vast but no longer frightening. Distant drums signaled the changing of the palace watch. Arslan squeezed her fingers once, then released. Rest. You'll need strength. Northern politics will stir when they learn the lost princess breathes. And southern gossip has already sprinted ahead of us, she noted, earning a dry chuckle from him. He opened the door. Bashir waited outside, expression soft. Walk her back, Arslan said. Bashir nodded, leading Sophia down torchlit stairs. Halfway along, Bashir spoke quietly. I've served the Sultan since boyhood. I've never seen him trust fate. Does he now? He trusts you, Bashir smiled. Or wants to. Sophia clasped his arm in thanks and slipped into the sleeping wing. Aliyah waited by her door, relief brightening her face. Is it true? Zara's gone? Exiled beyond the southern dunes. Aliyah exhaled. Then the harem may breathe again. She stepped closer. And you? I'm still breathing, Sophia answered. Stronger. Aaliyah touched her forehead lightly, a gesture of blessing. Moon guide you, sister. Inside her chamber, Lena slept soundly, clutching a rag doll. Thora dozed in a nearby chair, open book on her lap. Sophia eased onto her pallet, closed her eyes, and drifted. In dream, she stood before the palace of crystal and moonlight once more. This time, the grand doors opened. Figures waited. A regal woman whose eyes matched Sophia's. A proud man with a silver wolf crest. Warriors lining the hall. Asena paced at her side, fur sleek, silver muzzle lifted. The figures bowed. Welcome home, daughter of the moon. Sophia woke at dawn, tears on her cheeks but heart steady. Outside, sparrows heralded a brilliant sunrise. She rose, rolled her shoulders, and reached for her blade. Lighter now, as if metal recognized a new purpose. Today she would train not just to survive, but to claim destiny. Across the palace, Arslan stood at the balcony where he first watched her spar. He felt her waking through the bond, a soft flare of conviction, echoing his own. His wolf rested, for once content. Soon, he murmured to the rising sun, we will walk the same path. The morning trumpets blared. The palace began to stir, unaware that two hearts, once divided by grief and doubt, had begun to beat in a single rhythm, heralding a new era neither north nor south could ignore. Sophia flowed through her morning drills with a smoothness that startled even her. Every pivot felt as if Asena's paws were guiding her feet across the sand, and each cut from her practice sword hummed with subtle energy. The sun was only a pale promise on the horizon, yet she was already slick with exertion. Asena's low, amused voice curled inside her mind. We make quite a pair now. No more wobbling on oily planks. Sophia kept her breathing steady. Maybe we could leave the humiliation stories in yesterday. Only if you keep listening. A playful flick of emotion followed the words. Equal parts pride and protectiveness. Captain Idris watched from beneath the training awning, arms folded and eyes keen. Your footwork has tightened, he called. No wasted steps. She finished the combination, grounded her stance, and bowed lightly. I have a new coach, she said, tapping her temple. Idris's mouth quirked. Then remind your coach the rest of us need to catch up. He signaled for Tarek and Lala to join. They jogged over, both grinning. Tarek leaned on his practice spear. At this rate, she'll be teaching the whole regiment. Good, Lala said, tossing him a wooden shield. Maybe then you'll stop tripping over your own ambition. Tarek laughed, but his eyes shone with genuine admiration as he met Sophia's. I swear you glow in the dark now, Asena purred. Tell him it's the new moisturizer, lunar radiance. Sophia bit back a chuckle. Early sunrise, that's all. She settled into a sparring stance opposite Lale. Ready? Absolutely not, Lala replied, raising her sword anyway. They moved. Blades cracked, shields thudded, and laughter peppered the air whenever Tarek shouted half-serious advice from the sidelines. Idris corrected posture, his tone approving. Bashir soon appeared at the colonnade entrance, leaning on a railing. His soft smile watched every exchange with the quiet pride of an uncle observing talented nieces and nephews. When drills paused for water, Bashir approached Sophia. Your aura has changed, he said, offering a flask. Less storm, more sunrise. Still figuring out what that means, she admitted. You'll have time to learn, he replied. The Sultan asked you to join him at mid-morning. Terrace garden. Sophia's pulse ticked faster, but she nodded. I'll be there. Asena hummed. Our mate summons. Try not to trip over your own ankle like the first week. I was dragged in chains that day, remember? All the more reason to stand tall now. She excused herself to wash and change. Thora waited near the baths with a fresh tunic the color of honeyed cream and a sash dyed soft blue. Wear this, the elder said, smoothing the fabric over Sophia's arms. It reminds me of moonlit water. Sophia traced the cloth, gratitude swelling. Thank you. Outside, the palace's upper terrace was hushed except for cooing doves. Ivy climbed the stone balustrade, and lanterns of blown glass hung unlit, catching the first sunlight. Arslan stood near the edge, cloak drifting in the mild breeze. When he turned, relief flickered across his face as if he feared she might not come. Morning, she said. Better now, he replied, voice thick with honesty. Walk with me. They strolled slowly. Marble tiles cooled her feet through thin shoes. For a time he said nothing, and she let the quiet stretch like silk between them. Finally he exhaled. I used to stand here at dawn with my first mate, he began. We'd speak of strengthening borders, of pups, of celebrations yet to come. After she fell, I stopped visiting this place. Too many ghosts. He tapped the balustrade lightly. I didn't think I'd ever bring someone here again. Sophia's heart thudded. Thank you for trusting me with the memory. He glanced sideways, gold eyes tender. You trusted me with your truth yesterday. It's only fair. Esina's presence nudged Sophia's courage. He opens the gate. Step through. Sophia brushed her hand along the vine-laced railing. I grew up believing no one would ever call me daughter, much less mate. I lived on scraps. Respect never seemed possible. She inhaled, feeling the words settle in the warm air. Now, I have a wolf, who never doubts me, and a future that still feels like a fragile dream. Arslan halted, turning fully toward her. Dreams need tending, he murmured. He reached for her hand, hesitated, then linked their fingers. A spark raced up her arm, gentle yet unmistakable. Esina sighed happily. Arslan's wolf rumbled a soft greeting to her through the bond, a pulse of welcome. I'm afraid, he confessed in a raw whisper. Not of you, but of losing you. Her thumb swept across the back of his knuckles. I'm tired of being lost. Let's choose each other on purpose. Their foreheads met, the quiet contact carrying more promise than any grand vow. She felt his breath hitch, his lips touched hers, feather-light, as if asking permission rather than taking. She answered by rising on her toes, deepening the kiss in soft, deliberate warmth. Inside her mind, Esina crooned. Across from her, Arslan's wolf exhaled relief so profound it blossomed as warmth in Sophia's chest. When they parted, dawn had painted their joined shadows in pink-gold light. I could stay here forever, Arslan said, voice husky. Unfortunately, politics doesn't sleep in, she replied. He chuckled. Bashir is already pacing. They walked hand in hand to the war room where Bashir, Idris, and 2 guards waited. Maps cluttered a long table. At Sophia's arrival, Bashir's eyes lit with cautious hope. Intelligence from the north, he began, gesturing to parchment weighted by polished stones. Several minor packs are uneasy. Rumors of genie magic unsettle them. Sophia scanned the markings. Because legend says genie magic corrupts? Because legend says genie magic cannot be controlled, Idris clarified, voice calm but serious. They fear unpredictable strength. Arslan squeezed her hand before releasing it, stepping toward the table. Which is exactly why we bring it into the light. Secrets breed suspicion. Bashir nodded. Announce her title openly, invite the neighboring alphas, offer alliances. Actions before titles, Sophia said. Let them watch me protect our people tonight at the feast. Fear lessens when courage is visible. Bashir's mustache twitched in a smile. Agreed. While final arrangements spun into motion, Sophia trained once more. Between bouts, she laughed with Tarek as they argued over spear angles, helped Lala refine a disarming move, and teased Idris when he praised her too stoically. Word of her new status spread faster than parchment carriers. Servants smiled as she passed. Guards tapped fists to their chests. By sunset, the grand hall blazed with hundreds of lanterns. Silks draped from rafters, musicians tuned lutes and drums, and scents of spiced lamb drifted from copper platters. Aaliyah greeted Sophia at the entrance, eyes shining, hair braided with silver thread. "You look like prophecy fulfilled," Aaliyah whispered, adjusting Sophia's sash. "And you look like a miracle worker," Sophia replied. They shared a quick hug before joining the gathering. Arslan stood at the far end in robes of midnight blue, Bashir and Idris at each side. He watched Sophia approach, awe plain on his face. The room hushed as he lifted a hand. "Brothers and sisters," he began, voice carrying easily. "Tonight we welcome one who was lost, now found." He gestured to her. "Princess Sophia of the Magic Pack, my chosen mate, the heart that bridges north and south." Many bowed, others blinked in stunned disbelief. Aaliyah stepped forward, graceful as a dancer. "I once feared change," she announced, her clear voice ringing. "Sophia showed me change is simply courage in motion." She lowered her head in respect. Ripples of acknowledgement spread as harem members inclined heads, even those who had sided with Zara. Lala raised a goblet. "To the strongest warrior I know, and the kindest." Tarek lifted his too. "May she never stop scaring the spit out of us." Laughter broke tension. Sophia's cheeks warmed. She raised her own glass to the crowd, eyes shining. The feast unfolded with music, dance, and stories. Sophia navigated it with newfound ease, sharing warm words with elders and playful barbs with trainees. Throughout, Arslan's gaze tracked her, pride and wonder mingling like blended wine. Later, after musicians packed away instruments and servants cleared platters, Arslan guided Sophia toward a quieter hallway. Lanterns cast soft pools of gold on mosaic floors. He opened a carved door into a chamber bathed in candlelight, pillows strewn across a low couch. "Time for politics to rest," he said, voice hushed. He drew her close, hands gentle on her waist. She felt his pulse beneath her palms. "I've wanted this peace for so long," he murmured. "But it never took shape until you." Sophia's response was a kiss tender yet unashamed. Fingers threaded through his hair, and his arms circled her in cautious strength, as if he still feared she might vanish. She traced a scar near his collarbone, and he shivered. "Does it still hurt?" she whispered. "Only when I remember," he breathed, kissing her brow, cheeks, lips. "You turn pain to warmth." As they settled onto the cushions, wolves whispered in harmony. Two voices weaving approval, devotion, and gentle teasing. Their humans spoke softer realities, hopes of shared mornings, of uniting divided lands, of future pups who would never know chains. Hours later, distant bells marked the changing guard. They lay side by side, breath stilling, hearts synced. Then the alarm sounded. A deep horn blared, followed by shouts echoing through corridors. Arslan sprang upright, eyes blazing amber. Sophia rolled to her feet, grabbing her nearby training sword. Iron clashed in the courtyard below. "Zara," Arslan growled. His wolf snarled agreement. Sophia's pulse steadied. Asena's voice was a poised blade. "Let's finish this." Sophia raced beside Arslan down the wide staircase, bare feet slapping marble as echoes of clashing steel ricocheted through the palace corridors. Candle flames tilted in their wake. She felt the bond hum hot between them. Every breath he drew threaded through her lungs and back again. Asena pressed close in her mind, fierce and focused. "We will not be chased this time, we defend." They burst onto a balcony overlooking the central courtyard. Torches flickered below, revealing chaos. Guards wrestled with a swarm of rogues clad in mismatched armor. Sparks flew where blades met claws. Captain Idris barked orders near the archway, a fresh gash bleeding down his temple. Bashir stood at his back, coordinating archers on the ramparts. Arslan's wolf surged forward inside him, voice edged with command. "Find the leader, end the frenzy." Arslan spotted a flash of emerald silk and copper hair near the armory doors. Zara. She wielded twin daggers, slashing at a guard who tried to bar her path. Sophia with me, Arslan said, vaulting the balustrade. He landed lightly, shifted into half-wolf mid-stride, muscles rippling, fangs elongating. Sophia followed, vaulting down a lower stair and sprinting across Flagstone Walk, the hum of power coursing through her veins like hot silver. Tarek and Lala emerged from an adjoining hallway, weapons drawn. Rogues breached the west gate, Tarek panted. We've cleared most, but they keep coming. Hold that flank, Sophia ordered without breaking stride. Protect the infirmary and servants. No casualties. Lala grinned despite sweat streaking her cheeks. Yes, princess. Sophia skidded into the courtyard dust. A rogue lunged. She pivoted, kicked his knee sideways and brought her sword pommel down on his skull. He crumpled. Asina purred approval. Ahead, Idris traded blows with a gray-furred wolf nearly twice his size. Sophia sprinted in, parried the wolf's swipe, and slipped under its guard. A quick elbow strike to the snout staggered it, giving Idris an opening to drive his saber into the beast's shoulder. The rogue yelped and bolted into the shadows. Good timing, Idris gasped. He wiped blood from his brow. Zara's after the armory. She plans to torch it. Not on my watch, Sophia said. She sped across the courtyard. At the armory door, Zara stood surrounded by 3 rogues. She brandished a flint striker, sparks falling onto slick puddles of oil spread across the threshold. Flames licked the liquid, racing toward stacked crates of powder. Arslan reached them first, swiping one rogue aside with a roar. His claws raked another's chest, sending it skidding across stone. Zara spun, eyes wide and wild. You never learn, Arslan growled, half-wolf voice rumbling. She laughed, a high brittle sound. And you never see your weaknesses, dear Sultan. You guard the palace but leave the heart exposed. Her gaze flicked to Sophia approaching. Sophia halted at the blaze, creeping dangerously close to the crates. Heat singed her cheeks. She shoved fear aside. Asena's power surged, a pulse of silver fire behind her ribs. You know what to do. Shape it. Sophia inhaled, reaching inward. Her palms tingled. She slashed her sword into the oil line, scattering burning liquid away from the crates. A wall of silver-white energy shimmered across the threshold, forcing flames to crawl sideways and sputter out against stone. Gasps rose from nearby guards, even Zara faltered. Magic, she hissed. Sophia stepped forward. It's protection, something you forgot long ago. Zara's eyes burned with hate. Protection? You stole everything I fought for. He was meant to choose me. He chose cruelty over partnership, Sophia said softly. You chose envy over sisterhood. Zara darted, daggers flashing for Sophia's throat. Asena's warning roared. Sophia ducked, spun, and swung her blade. She disarmed Zara in 2 strikes, wooden edge cracking dagger hilts. Zara stumbled, heels skidding on oil-slick stone. Arslan's wolf snarled. Finish it. No, Sophia told him through their bond. Mercy leads. Fear follows. She leveled her sword an inch from Zara's pounding heart. Yield. This is your last chance to leave with your life. Zara's shoulders shook. For a moment, anger wavered into despair. Then she sank to her knees, daggers clattering. Rogues still fought in pockets nearby. Bashir strode up, securing Zara's wrists in silver cuffs. Guards hauled the remaining rogues toward holding cells. Smoke drifted from dying fires, the acrid smell of burnt oil mingling with night-blooming jasmine. Arslan approached Sophia, shifting fully human again. Blood streaked his forearm. A shallow cut bled slowly. He cupped her cheek with his free hand. You're safe? He asked, voice raw. Bruised, not broken. She touched the wound on his arm, magic sparking beneath her fingertips. The cut knitted closed. Arslan shivered at the warmth. Bashir issued orders nearby. Idris, secure the gates. Tarek, Lale, sweep the corridors. The trainees snapped salutes and hurried off. Sophia helped guide stunned servants to safety, reassuring them with calm words. Asina hummed a steady drumbeat of pride. You led well. That is a queen's heart. Exhaustion hit only when the courtyard quieted. Lanterns flickered, illuminating overturned crates and scorched stone. Arslan wrapped an arm around Sophia's waist. "Let's get you tended," he murmured. She didn't resist as he steered her toward the infirmary. Inside, Thora bustled between cots, passing salve to bandaged trainees. When Sophia entered, Thora's lined face softened with relief. "Minor cuts," Sophia said, lifting her arm to show a shallow slice. Thora dabbed herbal paste and wrapped clean linen. Arslan watched, gaze protective yet gentle. After Thora moved on, he guided Sophia into an adjoining chamber lit by a single lantern. Quiet, cool, smelling of sage. He poured water into a basin, dipped a cloth, and wiped grime from Sophia's cheeks. "You showed mercy," he said softly. "Mercy isn't weakness." She dabbed at a smear of soot on his jaw. "It's strength that remembers pain." His eyes shone gold in the lantern light. "Mate," he whispered, testing the word in open air. It settled between them like sunrise after endless night. "My mate." Her chest warmed. "My alpha." She brushed lips against his knuckles. Their wolves spoke simultaneously, contented voices weaving together. Always. Home. Arslan lowered his forehead to hers. The kiss that followed was slow and grounding, neither hurried nor timid. Two warriors savoring breath after battle. Footsteps echoed, Bashir's gentle knock sounded. "Guests gather in the great hall," he called. "They await their heroes." Arslan cracked the door. "We're coming." He offered Sophia his hand. One last task. She twined fingers with his. Together. In the grand hall, survivors and guards lined the walls, torches blazing bright. Bashir announced their entrance. The crowd erupted in cheers. Idris clapped a hand on Tariq's shoulder as the trainees whooped. Lala wiped a tear before grinning wide. Arslan lifted their joined hands. "The palace stands united," he proclaimed. "North and South share one heart." Sophia spoke next, voice ringing clear. "Fear divides, but courage weaves us stronger. Tonight we choose trust." Thunderous applause answered. Aaliyah stepped forward, placing a circlet of pale silver upon Sophia's brow. "For the queen who found her crown in her own strength," she said, bowing deeply. Others followed suit, heads lowered in respect. Even Zara's former supporters knelt. Sophia's eyes blurred with grateful tears. Arslan squeezed her hand, pride radiating. When the hall quieted, music began. Soft strings and drums calling wolves to celebrate life. Trays of fresh bread, roasted game, and fruit replaced empty dishes. Tariq dragged Lyle to dance. Idris accepted a goblet from Bashir, both laughing like old friends. Thora hummed blessings, patting young warriors who blushed under praise. Amid the swirl, Arslan drew Sophia to the edge of the hall. "Fresh air?" he murmured. She nodded. They climbed a spiral stair to the highest tower. Cool night wrapped them. Below, lanterns dotted rooftops like fallen stars. A gentle breeze carried scents of citrus and distant rain. Arslan draped a cloak over her shoulders. "When I lost my first mate, I thought the world had spent its kindness." He brushed stray hair from her face. "But fate doesn't recycle love. It grows it anew." She rested a palm over his heart. "We'll nurture it together." Asena's contented sigh echoed inside her chest. Arslan's wolf rumbled promise. They gazed across their united lands, desert stretching south, lush forests north, no longer borders, but tapestries woven by their choices. Sophia turned to him with a smile that felt like dawn. "Ready for whatever comes?" "With you, always." He kissed her gently, sealing vow and future under the wide, whispering sky. Moonlit silence wrapped Sophia and Arslan on the tower, until the last torches flickered out in the courtyards below. Only then did fatigue settle into Sophia's limbs, a sweet heaviness earned through survival. Asena whispered we should eat, or at least stretch. All that glory won't fill an empty belly. Sophia answered the tease with a smile and brushed her lips once more over Arslan's cheek. We should head back, she murmured. He kept her hand tucked under his arm while they descended the narrow spiral. In the corridor they collided with Bashir, who balanced a tray of cheese, figs, and warm flatbread. I suspected you'd forget supper, he said, eyes twinkling. Fuel before politics resumes at dawn. Arslan chuckled. Ever the strategist. They found a quiet alcove between storerooms. Sitting cross-legged on a woven mat, Sophia devoured figs, juice dripping down her wrist. Arslan tore bread into pieces, handing her the center still steaming. Bashir leaned against a column, sipping watered wine. The hall's calming, he reported. Idris has patrols doubled. Zara and the rogues are secured for transport to the eastern frontier come sunrise. She'll stand trial before the High Council there. Sophia swallowed a bite. No execution? Exile, Bashir confirmed. Northern and Southern laws share that sentence for treason that spares civilian lives. She nodded, thankful mercy remained consistent. A yawn escaped despite her attempt to stifle it. Arslan caught the sound and helped her stand. Sleep. Council meets at mid-morning. They parted at Sophia's chamber. Inside, Lena slept curled around her doll, untroubled by recent chaos. Thora sat nearby with a half-knit shawl. At Sophia's entrance, the elder set needles aside. Battle ways, but heart still beat. She pressed a small vial of lavender oil into Sophia's palm. For restful dreams. Sophia kissed her cheek and slid beneath blankets, exhaustion pulling her into darkness. Dreams came, but gentle ones. An endless field of silver grass where Asena trotted at her side, and Arslan's wolf loped ahead, glancing back in playful challenge. She woke to birdsong and sunlight pooling across the floorboards. Linen sheets had tangled about her ankles. She untwisted herself and dressed in trousers and a light tunic embroidered with a subtle crescent moon crest, courtesy of the palace seamstresses who had evidently made night work of her wardrobe. Council assembled in a vaulted chamber bright with stained glass windows. Representatives of nearby packs arrived at dawn, tension visible in rigid shoulders and nervous eye flicks. Sophia entered beside Arslan, Bashir, and Idris flanking. Tariq and Lala stood guard near the door, spears crossed in ceremonial salute. An elder from the Howling Fur Pack spoke first, voice quavering. Is it true? Genie blood walks among us? Sophia stepped forward before Arslan could. I hold the blood, she answered, but it threatens no one who seeks peace. She raised her hands, letting a soft silver glow dance across her palms. Gasps rustled through the hall. Even Bashir's brows climbed at the display's gentle beauty, rather than raw power. She closed her fists. This gift shields more than it destroys. I will wield it to mend, not conquer. Murmurs shifted, skepticism softening into wary intrigue. Another envoy, a stout woman with scarred knuckles, studied Sophia's calm stance. Show us action, she said. Words fade. Arslan signaled. Guards opened side doors, revealing hissed whispers among onlookers as Zara and her rogues were marched through, bound, but unharmed. These attackers threatened every soul beneath this roof, Arslan declared. They stand alive, because Sophia fought with strength and mercy. He gestured for the envoys to inspect the prisoner's wounds. Bandaged, tended. Let that be proof. The stout envoy's wolf spoke within her, voice low enough Sophia couldn't hear, but she witnessed the woman's nod of grudging respect. Strength tempered, the envoy said, better than fire unchecked. Bashir outlined terms for alliance, shared patrols along northern passes, trade of medical herbs for desert steel, invitation to a midsummer moot so northern alphas could judge Sophia's character themselves. By the meeting's end, most representatives had signed parchment seals pledging at least neutrality. Afterward, Sophia stood on the balcony outside the chamber, wind lifting stray hairs. Aliyah joined her, carrying 2 cups of sweet mint tea. Council halls smell like dust and nerves, Aliyah noted. You carried yourself as if you'd done this for years. Mostly I tried not to sweat through embroidery. Sophia accepted the cup. Thank you for last night. Your words turned hearts. I spoke truth, Aaliyah said. She lifted her cup in salute. To new moons. Tarek bounded up with Lale on his heels. Idris wants you both in the yard, he told Sophia, eyes alight. Joint drills with northern envoys. They're curious. Sophia grinned. Let's show them hospitality then. On the training field, Sophia demonstrated defensive maneuvers with Lale, while Tarek narrated with theatrical flair. Laughter rippled among envoys. Tension further diffused. Even the once skeptical elder tried a practice sword, guided patiently by Idris. Afternoon heat passed in camaraderie. When the sun dipped, the palace staff transformed the courtyard into festival grounds. Banners of blue and silver draped parapets. Musicians tuned to lively rhythms. Tables laden with saffron rice, roasted quail and honey pastries lined the walls. Sophia arrived wearing a flowing gown of midnight with silver embroidery that matched Asena's nose. Arslan donned a deep indigo robe cinched with a steel clasp shaped like twin wolves. When they met near the fountain, disbelief flickered across his features. You outshine the lanterns, he whispered. She brushed a fingertip over the healed cut on his forearm. And you outshine my fears. They joined the crowd. Mid-feast, Bashir rose, goblet lifted. We gather in unity, he gestured to Arslan and Sophia. North and south bound by courage and love. Cheers answered. Tarek banged the bottom of a drum, launching music. He spun Lale into a whirling dance. Idris barked a laugh when Bashir tugged him into the rhythm. Envoys and palace servants alike joined until wide circles of dancers rippled like petals in wind. Sophia hesitated at the edge, but Arslan drew her hand to his chest. Dance with me. He kept his steps slow, guiding her through the pattern. Asena offered tips. Left foot first, silly. And Sophia giggled despite herself. Soon they moved in fluid time, wolves humming approval. Hours later, lantern light shimmered across emptied plates. Thora sat near the fountain, blessing weary dancers. Sophia settled beside her, resting against a marble ledge. When I was small, Thora said, I served a queen who danced every midwinter. You remind me of her grace tonight. Sophia's throat tightened. Thank you for believing in me. She pulled the shawl Thora had knitted over the elder's shoulders. The crowd thinned. Arslan found Sophia and inclined his head toward the tower stair. She followed. No guards trailed them. Peace blanketed the palace like soft snow. High on the tower balcony, moonlight painted the stone silver. Desert stretched south, forests north, both luminous under the night sky. Arslan pulled her gently against him. My people were born from fire, he said, brushing hair from her face. Yours from moonlight. Yet here we stand. Fire needs moonlit tides to temper sparks, she replied, hands warming his chest. He smiled, eyes soft. I once thought love stole strength. Now I know it grants it. His lips captured hers, slow and sure. Wolves murmured approval in their minds, words of devotion layered with contented growls. They pulled back, foreheads touching. Tell me something ordinary, he whispered. She laughed. I like peach pastries for breakfast. He grinned. I hate olives. We can negotiate menu treaties, she said. He kissed her nose, and done. A beat of silence followed. Comfortable. Infinite. Are you happy? Her answer was a kiss that tasted like yes. Below, a lone horn sounded, a gentle call signaling the closing of gates. Peace was official. Sophia exhaled, absorbing the melody of quiet guards and distant crickets. Asena rested inside her mind, stretching like a satisfied cat. We did well. Arslan's wolf replied, deep, mellow. Home at last. Days turned to a week. Repairs finished on scorched stone near the armory. New banners bearing entwined crescents fluttered above gates. Envoys departed with full bellies and hopeful letters for their councils. The palace found steady rhythm, joint patrol drills at dawn, Aaliyah's diplomatic teas, Thora's healing circles. One morning, Sophia walked the garden path where she'd once faced Zara among crushed roses. Fresh buds had opened, red as sunrise. She clipped 3 and carried them to the harem wing. Inside, former rivals now organized silks for trade caravans. They paused when she entered. Sophia placed the roses in a crystal vase. "For new beginnings," she said. Soft smiles met hers. Athena stepped forward, tied a silver ribbon around the vase, and bowed. That night, Sophia and Arslan met Bashir, Idris, Tariq, Lala, Aliyah, and Thora for supper on a terrace lit by paper lanterns. Friends shared stories of early blunders. Tariq reenacted his first failed shield block. Lala roasted him with witty commentary. Idris cracked a grin so wide it startled him. Thora poured pomegranate juice, blessing the table. When laughter faded, Bashir lifted his cup once more. "To the strength found in choosing hope." All echoed the toast. Later, as lanterns dimmed, Sophia leaned on the balustrade, Arslan's arms around her from behind. Wind rustled palm leaves. Somewhere a nightjar called. She rested hands over his. "Do you ever worry peace won't last?" she asked softly. "I worry," he admitted. "But every dawn we greet together proves fear wrong." He whispered against her hair. "And if storms rise again, we weather them side by side." She turned in his embrace, finding his mouth in a slow kiss that tasted of honeyed pomegranate. Asina's purr vibrated through her chest. Arslan's wolf matched it with a deep hum. 2 heartbeats synced in unwavering cadence. They separated only when Thora's voice floated up from below. "Get some sleep, pups. Tomorrow waits." Sophia laughed against Arslan's shoulder. "Yes, elder." They walked to their chambers through torchlit halls, fingers interlaced. At the door, Sophia paused. "One more thing," she said, pulling a folded parchment from her sash. "I drafted plans for a joint academy. Magic for wolves and strategy for mages. Bashir thinks it mad." Arslan scanned the sketch, eyes bright. "It's brilliant. We'll build it where the desert meets the forest so both lands nurture it." She tucked the parchment back. Then it settled. Inside, moonlight spilled through latticework. They undressed in quiet intimacy, gentle touches mapping familiar paths. No haste, only reverence for shared breath. Wolves settled into companionable silence, allowing humans their moments. Later, wrapped in linen, Sophia lay with head on Arslan's chest, tracing the slow rise and fall. "I used to dream of escape," she whispered. "Now I dream of mornings." "Tomorrow's morning," he said drowsily, "we'll start with peach pastries. I'll forgive the olives." He laughed, low and content. Outside, dawn's first light painted the sky pale gold. Asina murmured, "Sleep now. Real queens need rest." Sophia closed her eyes, heart echoing with gratitude. Fire and moonlight had woven threads into a single tapestry, strong enough to shield a kingdom, gentle enough to cradle whispered hopes. Together, they drifted into dreams, not of loss or longing, but of fields unscarred, children's laughter, and the steady promise of a love that would guide 2 worlds into the light. Sophia's fingertip traced the slow rise and fall of Arslan's chest, following the quiet rhythm that soothed her heartbeat into the same gentle pace. Linen sheets lay soft against her skin, holding the warmth they'd shared through the small hours while moonlight drew silver bars across the lattice and spilled over them. They had talked, laughed, dozed, talked again, every word a thread weaving trust where fear once lived. Now only the hush of pre-dawn lingered, broken by their occasional breaths of wonder, as though neither could entirely believe the peace they'd found. Arslan lifted his hand and cupped hers where it rested over his heart. "You never seemed fragile," he murmured. His voice carried the low gravel that appeared whenever fatigue met relief. "But feeling you here like this, steady and calm, I understand how much weight you carried alone." She turned her face so her lips brushed the inside of his wrist. And I finally understand what it is to set that weight down. She shifted until her chin propped lightly on his sternum, green eyes studying him in the blue haze of fading moonlight. I used to rehearse escape plans, how to slip through gates, how to outrun people stronger than me. Tonight I keep rehearsing tomorrow morning instead. He smiled, lines at the corners of his eyes deepening. With peach pastries and banished olives, she whispered. They shared a quiet chuckle, and the sound traveled the short distance between their hearts like a promise that laughter would never again be a stranger here. Sophia's free hand found a lock of his night-tousled hair and brushed it back. Asena's presence glowed just behind her thoughts, tender and protective. He loves you wholly, Asena murmured, her tone soft and certain. Feel how his heart steadies under your palm. He is no longer haunted. Arslan's golden eyes softened even further. May I tell you something I never spoke to anyone? He asked. Not even Bashir. Anything, she said. She lifted herself onto an elbow so she could listen with her whole focus. When I held my first mate as she died, he began, gaze drifting to a memory she could feel pulsing in the air. Part of me believed the goddess had taken her to punish my pride. Every choice since then was shaped by that guilt. Every victory felt hollow because she was not there to share it. His voice turned ragged on the edges. But lying here, I realize I punished myself more than fate ever could. Loving again feels like walking into sunlight after years locked in a vault. Sophia ran her knuckles over his cheek. Sunlight doesn't erase shadows. It just shows us colors we forgot existed. She swallowed. I'm sorry she had to go for us to find each other, but I promise to treasure what her memory taught you: strength, patience, devotion. Arslan closed his eyes, absorbing her words as though they carried healing. When he opened them again, the golden hue had deepened, flecks glowing like embers. His wolf's voice resonated through the bond, low and reverent. The time for fear is over, my friend. Claim the dawn. Sophia felt Asena respond in gentle agreement. Let them see their hearts, she urged. Sophia leaned in, pressing a light kiss to the scar along Arslan's jaw, tracing it with her lips as if to erase lingering pain. He turned, meeting her mouth in a kiss that was still careful, still slow, but brimmed with expanding warmth. Their lips moved as though tasting the shape of forever, a dance of breath and forgiveness and rising devotion. Every pause was a question. Do you wish this? And every renewed touch replied, yes, freely, joyfully. She shifted to drape partly across him, feeling his heartbeat answer her own. His palm smoothed over the curve of her shoulder, and she felt him marvel at the fact that she was truly there, alive and willing to share the spaces he had long kept sealed. For long moments they explored gentle touches, her tracing the strong lines of his arms, him memorizing the path of her spine. Never hurried, always listening for the catch of breath that meant pause, or the sigh that invited more. When his lips paused over the hollow of her throat, he whispered, I feel our wolves circling one another, asking if they may bind us. He drew back enough to meet her gaze. Mate marks are forever. I won't take that step on instinct or ritual. I want it because we choose it. Her chest tightened with emotion so intense it almost hurt. She sat up, sheets pooling at her waist, and placed her hand over his heart again. I choose you, Arslan. Not because the moon commands it, or a legend inscribes it. Because each day with you already feels like home. He sat too, kneeling before her, reverence softening every line of his posture. Dawn's earliest light slipped through the lattice, gilding the copper strands of his hair. Then may I mark you, Sophia of the Magic Pack, not as an alpha's possession, but as a partner whose strength equals mine. Tears threatened, but they were warm, sweet. And may I mark you, she answered, voice shaking but strong, as the other half of my dawn. They faced each other in the quiet. Asena guided her with silent confidence. Place your hand where you feel his heart loudest. Sophia flattened her palm over his left pectoral, just above the steady thrum. Arslan mirrored the gesture, his hand warm over the point where her heartbeat tapped eager reply. A hush fell inside them and around them, wolves stilled, as though kneeling in a sacred grove. Sophia closed her eyes and breathed into her chest. Light, subtle at first, gathered around her fingertips, silver threads weaving between her pulse and his through their touching palms. She felt a soft pull, then a bloom of heat that was not fire yet radiated like it. Arslan inhaled sharply. A golden glow sparked where his hand met her skin, twining with her silver. Energy spiraled through their bodies, steady rather than fierce, wrapping around their ribs, brushing along their spines, threading into minds where wolves waited with open souls. Sophia felt Asena's joy tangle with Arslan's wolf's deep rumble, two voices harmonizing into a single chord of belonging that echoed in her blood. Then came the mark itself, a subtle sigil glowing on each of their necks, shaped like crescent moons interlaced with the silhouette of twin wolves. Heat lingered only a heartbeat, then settled cold as ink, but vibrant as if fresh drawn. Sophia gasped at the tenderness of it, at the certainty that blossomed inside her sternum. Arslan's gaze shimmered. "I feel you," he breathed. "I feel you," she answered, and the phrase tasted like new truth. Their wolves spoke aloud in perfect unison, though no other ears could hear, bound by choice, guarded by love, bright as dawn, deep as dusk. A hush, like the still center of a storm, enveloped them. When it passed, they were the same, and yet more. Twined lines of energy singing quietly in their shared pulse. No words were needed for a time. They slid back beneath the linens, facing one another. She traced the new mark on his chest. He mapped it on hers, fingers reverent. Their kisses deepened again. But where there had been caution, there was now serenity. It was still slow, still respectful, but with a certainty that no fear could break what they had bound. Passion grew, layered with laughter when her stomach growled, or when he whispered a joke about peach pastries as incentive to survive the rest of Dawn's counsel. Eventually they settled, limbs tangled. The first full rays of sun painted the room gold. Through the balcony doors, a faint breeze carried the scent of baking bread and flowering citrus. Sophia smiled into Arslan's neck. "You realize," she murmured, "that saying mate in public will make Bashir cry." "He will deny tears, blame desert dust," Arslan replied. "But yes, and Idris might finally smile without hiding it behind that beard." She chuckled, then sobered with a soft sigh. "I never thought I could feel like this. Whole, chosen, safe." "You give me the same," he said, brushing his lips along her hairline. She settled her ear over his heart, listening to the new undertone within each beat. Hers, his, theirs. Asena sprawled inside her mind with a sleepy yawn. "Happiness tastes like warm sand and cool moonlit water," she murmured. His wolf answered, "Rest now, little star. The sky keeps watch." The world outside their door moved. Servants' distant chatter, the footfalls of guards changing shift, Tarek's unmistakable laugh echoing down a hallway. All of it hummed beneath the steady quiet they held between them. Sophia breathed it in and let it out in a long, peaceful sigh. "Do you want to sleep?" Arslan asked, thumb brushing her forearm. "For a moment," she admitted, "just until the pastries arrive." He smiled and tugged the linens higher. There, in the cradle of dawn, they rested, not from weariness, but because rest had become an act of trust, one they now shared without fear of abandonment. And as Sophia drifted, she felt the new mark warm once more, pulsing in gentle rhythm with the heart that beat beneath her cheek, singing welcome to every morning yet to come. Sunlight eventually pried Sophia and Arslan from their warm tangle of sheets. When they rose, the mark on her chest tingled as linen brushed it, an intimate reminder that the line between her heartbeat and his no longer existed. Arslan tugged on loose trousers and laughed when her stomach rumbled. Summoning breakfast seems urgent, he teased. Blame Bashir's pastries, not me, she replied, draping a light robe around her shoulders. I have critical research to conduct on whether they actually taste better after life-changing soulmate bonding. He opened the door, eyes still soft in that new way they had discovered. Tarek waited outside with a tray, flatbread, peach pastries glazed in syrup, 2 steaming cups of coffee. He saluted, attempting a formal expression, but the grin beneath his straight face betrayed delight. Captain Idris sends fortifying rations, Tarek announced, and Bashir claims he fought 3 palace cooks at dawn for the last of the peaches. Arslan accepted the tray. Let's hope Idris defended the pantry. Tarek's gaze flicked to their twin robes, to Sophia's shining eyes, then to the faint glow under Arslan's collarbones where his mark hid. The young warrior's grin widened. Rumor already outran me, so I'll just say congratulations. He stepped back. The council assembles in 2 hours for the oath ceremony. Bashir asked me to remind you gently. He winked and disappeared. They sat cross-legged on the bed to eat. Sophia bit into a pastry. Syrup dribbled down her thumb. Worth it, she declared, licking the sweet and laughing. Arslan sipped coffee, eyes never leaving her. Seeing you laugh like this makes every scar honorable. She brushed crumbs from his lower lip. We'll collect new scars, but they'll be shared. Asena's sleepy voice hummed. If these pastries vanish daily, remind Arslan's cooks I expect a tribute box labeled to the Queen's wolf. Arslan choked on a laugh as Sophia relayed the demand. An hour later, Sophia dressed in an ivory tunic stitched with tiny silver moons, belted with sapphire silk. Arslan donned a charcoal jacket with wolf head clasps. They stepped into the corridor, fingers brushing but not clasping yet, enjoying the electric anticipation of presenting themselves as newly marked mates. Bashir met them halfway down the hall. His eyes shone suspiciously bright, and he coughed gruffly before speaking. Reports indicate palace morale is at an unprecedented peak. Also, congratulations. He sniffed and looked ceiling-ward as if locating a draft. Sophia smiled gently. Dust, Bashir? Evidently. He straightened. Council awaits your entrance. The meeting hall bustled with envoys and pack representatives. Scribes dipped quills, and the stained glass windows scattered morning light across polished tables. When Sophia and Arslan entered side by side, conversation hushed, replaced by the collective sigh of acceptance that rippled like wind through wheat. Captain Idris stood near the dais, one arm in a fresh sling. Cracked elbow from last night's fray, he had insisted was barely a bruise. Lala and Tarek flanked him, both in crisp uniforms, pride written from head to toe. Aliyah emerged from the harem section wearing aquamarine silk. She bowed gracefully, her wolf's presence behind her eyes shining in quiet devotion. Arslan raised their joined hands. Soft gasps greeted the twin sigils glowing faintly at their chests, before fading beneath clothing. The bond you see was forged by choice and trust, he said. We stand stronger together than either kingdom alone. Sophia added, Our future begins with the promise that North and South will share libraries, patrols, and schools, so children grow up knowing cooperation, not suspicion. The stout envoy from Howling Fur Pack stepped forward, shoulders squared. Words spoken in peace carry weight, but deeds root them. She drew a ceremonial dagger, flipped it so the hilt pointed towards Sophia. Our pack extends alliance. Sophia accepted, touched by the symbolic surrender of distrust. One by one, envoys repeated the gesture, a curved bone knife from the Ice Hollow, a bronze torque from the Red Dune Pack, a carved horn whistle from Fog Valley. The dais collected pledges like seeds for a harvest. Bashir's quill danced over parchment recording every vow. When the last envoy stepped back, Idris saluted. Training rosters will integrate by week's end. Lala nudged Tarek. Hope you're ready for partner drills with desert wolves. Tarek winked. I like a challenge that doesn't end with my spear snapped. Sophia's laughter joined others, the hall bright with relief. After council adjourned, Arslan guided Sophia through courtyard paths freshly swept of last night's debris. Gardeners replanted singed shrubbery, and new rose bushes dotted soil once trampled in battle. At a shaded bench beneath flowering acacias, Thora waded knitting gold thread into white wool. "Elder." Sophia bent to kiss her cheek. Thora patted her hand. "The tapestry strengthens," she said, indicating intricate stitches. Each thread was once fragile alone. She squeezed their marked wrists. "Remember, weaving never ends." They promised to visit again and wandered toward the outer wall where a new building site stood roped off. Blueprints lay pinned under stones on a table. Sophia's academy draft enlarged by palace architects. Arslan traced a line that would become an archway. Classrooms here, training rings there, library at the center. "And a rooftop observatory," Sophia added. "So pups can watch meteor showers and dream bigger than borders." Bashir approached with 2 rolled scrolls. "Financial projections," he said. "But I believe donors will be generous with hope running high." Sophia unrolled the top sheet. Signatures already filled sponsor lines. Envoys, merchants, even distant trade barons. Emotion welled. "Thank you." "That gratitude belongs to your vision," Bashir replied softly. Noon heat glimmered over sandstone when servants called them back for lunch. A bustling affair in the grand hall, less formal than the feast, yet hearty. Large platters of grilled vegetables, couscous studded with dried fruit, and platters of pomegranate kernels circled. Arslan piled Sophia's plate with bright colors, resisting her protest that she could serve herself. "Luna needs strength to outspar Tarek," he teased. Asena's laughter rolled inside her. "Remind the alpha peaches build muscle." When Aliyah scolded Tarek for juggling stuffed grape leaves, Sophia felt a wave of affection for each quirky alliance now blossoming under the roof. Even guards who once scowled at northern accents now swapped recipes with servants from Frost Valleys. Afternoon waned. Sophia slipped away to the quiet pool of the women's baths. Steam curled, carrying mint and eucalyptus. Aliyah soon joined, lowering herself into warm water with a sigh. "I thought I'd drown in worry last night," she confessed. "Now the water feels light as snowflakes." Sophia drifted weightless. "Because we've chosen trust." Aliyah smiled softly. "Long may that choice guide us." At twilight, Sophia and Arslan met Idris, Bashir, Tarek, and Lala atop the western rampart, where finishing touches were placed on new banners. Together they pulled ropes that unfurled a long standard of silver moons entwined with twin wolves against a field of midnight blue. Applause rose from below. Sophia's throat tightened as she watched wind catch the fabric, symbol of a union larger than 2 hearts. Night settled. Lanterns flickered along corridors as servants retired. Arslan found Sophia at their balcony watching constellations emerge. He wrapped arms around her. "Children of both realms will know these stars without walls." A flush warmed her cheeks at the mention of children. "One day," she said, turning in his arms, "when peace has deeper roots." Roots grow under watchful hearts. He rested a large hand over her new mark. She mirrored the gesture. Every pulse promised tomorrow. Asena's gentle comment drifted between their minds. "I hope future pups inherit our appetite. I fancy a house that smells forever of peach pastries." Arslan's wolf rumbled amusement. "And olives," he teased, provoking Asena's mock groan. They stayed until crickets hushed and only the hush of their breathing filled the night. When cool wind teased Sophia's hair, Arslan led her downstairs. They walked out to the silent central courtyard, lanternless under bright stars. Stone still radiated day heat. He took her to the exact spot where Zara's flames had almost brought destruction. "This ground remembers fear," he said, pressing her hand to the warm stone. Then he raised her fingertips to his lips. "Now it will remember mercy." She drew a slow breath. "Let's rewrite every scar in the kingdom like that. Turn them into lessons, not weapons." "Together," he agreed. They returned to their room. Inside, a small box waited on the table, polished cherry wood bound by a silver clasp. Sophia lifted the lid. A pair of rings nested on silk, simple bands of platinum etched inside with a crescent wolf sigil. A note rested beneath in Bashir's tidy script. Asterisk. For moments you choose to show the world what the marks in your hearts already proclaim. Arslan slid one ring onto her finger. Physical reminders for days we travel apart. She placed its twin on his hand beside the mark. The world will see unity no matter distance. They settled onto cushions before the open balcony doors, watching stars. Concern flickered across Arslan's face. Do you miss anything from the time before all this? She considered the nights alone, the cold barns, the silent hunger for a wolf's voice. I miss nothing, she said. But I carry everything. Every bruise, every lonely dawn. It shaped the strength that let me stand with you. He touched her cheek, reverent. And now? Now I look forward to dawn, not to flee, but because you'll be there. They lay down side by side, faces turned to the sky. Owls called across the gardens. The palace, though vast, felt intimate, heartbeats echoing against ancient stone. Dawn's first glow painted low clouds rose gold. Sophia exhaled. Light's coming. Arslan reached for her hand. We greeted together. They rose, stepping onto the balcony as sun breached the horizon. Warm light slid over battlements, igniting the new banner until it appeared aflame. Below, the city stirred. Merchants lifting stall shutters, children chasing pigeons, guards greeting one another with fresh camaraderie. Life began again, renewed. Arslan kissed Sophia softly. No haste, no fear, just truth. When they parted, he whispered, we walked through fire and frost to find each other. She rested her forehead to his. Now, side by side, we faced the light. They turned toward the awakening world, hands clasped, hearts still humming with the echo of silver and gold, two wolves forever entwined under one rising sun.